I'm sure by this point, most of you have heard about the new LEGO Zelda Great Deku Tree. So, why watch this video? Well, I've been scouring these images for the last 18 hours and let me tell you, I can promise that I'll be sharing some new details that I guarantee you will not have noticed. I'm talking the secret minifigure accessory being used to fill the Great Deku Tree's eyes, the secrets behind what's written on Link's sign, and all the koroks and vegetation present in the whole set, and much more. So let's spend, well, however long it takes really, taking a wonderful up-close look at potentially the best set of the year, as well as talk to you a little bit about the interviews, what this could mean for the theme's future, discussion about the price, my personal connection with this theme, and the designer, because not enough spotlight has been shed on his secret connection with the fan community. So come with me, Octane Thermoplastic, with my 14 years of waiting for this theme and 4 years of designing custom sets that hypothesize what a LEGO Zelda partnership would look like, as we take the nerdiest and most in-depth look possible at this wonderful new set. So, getting all the information out of the way super quick, this is an 18+ set under the LEGO Icons branding, although not quite, as we'll come back to later. This number is 77092 with 2,500 pieces exactly, and this is the Great Deku Tree 2-in-1 based off Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. Now, I actually want to jump in up and close and start talking about the base first. However, before we do, I want to quickly mention the designer. So this set was designed by Wes Talbot, as well as two wonderful graphic designers as well. Wes actually has a long history going back with this theme, as in 2012-2013 he designed a LEGO Ideas project called the Iron Knuckle Encounter, which reached 10,000 supporters and ideas and was rejected to become a set. Since then he was hired by the LEGO Group and has been instrumental in many fantastic projects such as the LEGO Elves line, which is definitely a fantasy proxy. He has obviously been the designer of this set, but he was also instrumental in the introduction of the new Fern element in Rivendell last year, and was working on the LEGO Friends team at the same time that those two stickers came out that everyone thought was a reference to Zelda. So he's been around, he's been hinting potentially, but I'm really glad that he was the one that designed this. And there's a lot of his design ethos from 10 years ago that's been upgraded and is present in this set, and it's actually a huge inspiration for my own build style on the custom set, and it's a really beautiful meshing of play and display using all the modern new LEGO elements. But you guys aren't here to hear specifically about that. Let's jump into talking about the set. I want to start at the bottom, and that is the base. Obviously it's a chunk that's of brick that's built between a plate layer on the bottom in black and a plate layer on the top, which is in green. Now you may have noticed that the base actually stays pretty much the same between both versions of the tree. Now I'm not talking about the vegetation and stuff that's on it, but if you notice in front of the Great Deku Tree, the same blue water that is present in the Breath of the Wild version is there. There is no secondary plate layer to switch out, which may be something that you guys might be interested in. The blue black layer actually does look really sleek. It blends in nicely with a shelf, and I think it's nice and subtle. I didn't want it to overstay its welcome or feel like it was trapping the display, so it was definitely the right choice here. Because the actual plate layer of the base doesn't change, it helps to modernize the Ocarina of Time tree by sort of upgrading the graphical quality around there, but obviously you could change this out if you wanted to. Also present in both versions is a different selection of jumper tiles, and this is actually key to the play and display of this set. You'll notice that all of the small flowers, small trees, and items like the mushrooms and character builds are all loosely placed on jumper tiles, which means they can be rearranged, moved around to play. So for example, Link could harvest up the mushrooms and take them inside to the spore store. You could replace these trees to fit something of your liking, and it also facilitates easy removal of characters like Hestu, the Deku Sprout, and the Gossip Stone as well, all of which we'll be taking a closer look at. This also even applies to the inside of the Ocarina tree, where the torch and probably the chest as well are both on these jumper systems as well. Not only does this allow a little bit of customization, but it is also here to make your life easier when placing these things. It shows, it just makes it easier and like directs you towards the location that you need to place these elements. There's also no more logo tile on the front of the base. This was something that was present in the D2C leak that we don't talk about from February a year ago. And I actually am a big fan of this change, because while it would have been cool to have this on a printed tile, it was in like a dark tan or goldish color, which obviously matches the Breath of the Wild logo, but not the red of the Ocarina of Time. So to be honest, I'm just glad we don't have that inconsistency, and I would kind of rather that we don't have one, which we do. You also notice that in some images there's these holes on the front. Now many people have theorized that this could be for expansion, but this is not the case. This is just so that you can detach the pedestal section that's present in the Breath of the Wild version of the tree. There's also a chance that this pedestal section does not share any parts with the Ocarina tree, so there is a chance that you could be able to display the pedestal in front of the Ocarina tree, even though that's not accurate to the game, as it has been confirmed through various sources that the Link's house build that's associated with the Ocarina tree is buildable no matter which version of the tree you have, which will be a really nice way to display the Ocarina figures, even if you're displaying the Breath of the Wild version of the tree. I should also mention that because this is a brick build base that's designed to not come apart, there will be some filler brick inside. Now, designers often usually include Easter eggs for the various theme or their own history, and in the past we've seen stuff like the Portuguese flag be included, or green bricks to represent smoke coming from beneath the floor, and there's usually a story behind the bricks used. Obviously, this is not guaranteed, so take this with a grain of salt, but my leading theories could be that we could see coloured bricks on the inside that represent the colours of the NES Link sprite. We could see a brick built version of the Kokiri Emerald in a bit of like stud art form, or we could even see some Sheikah constellations, depending on what the designer wanted. It could be much simpler, it could be a pattern that's reminiscent to him, or perhaps even just some red bricks to represent the malice that's beneath the tree in Tears of the Kingdom. It could be anything, it could be nothing, but there is a high likelihood that the hidden details being included here. And this does make me wonder if there is a hidden 1x1 tile print of a Korok seed. Given that there are 3 of them in the set, I wouldn't be surprised if they printed one up, maybe hid it in the base or hid it in a portion of the tree, and while I can't see one in any images, I feel like there's a pretty strong likelihood, maybe 60-70%, that it's included. However, of course, this is not a guarantee. So also on that base is the removal section for the pedestal, which features 2 trees, which does sort of counteract my theory that it will be buildable when you're doing the Ocarina of Time version, although I still hold out that the tan pieces around the pedestal will be there, because that's right, they chose to do this pedestal in tan. It's very hard with the Breath of the Wild lighting to actually tell what colour this is. When I did my custom one, I did it in a mixture of the 2 grey shades. However, I do like the contrast that doing it in tan gives here, and it may be that these parts are necessary in the Ocarina tree, meaning that they're actually super useful in that regard. You can actually see around here that we've got Silent Princesses here using the Aqua Friends flower element, which is a great part choice. However, they are being put into olive green flower stems, which is interesting. It's not inherently wrong. However, I think I would have preferred bright green, even though it would have had less contrast to the other builds. I just think it would be more accurate, as those flower stems are definitely green or bright green, which are the other colors that piece comes in. You'll also notice, of course, that on the pedestal we have the place where the sword goes, and it actually can be placed in the pedestal, not quite in the right position, but just behind the raised segment. It looks absolutely wonderful in there, and while we haven't really highlighted this yet, it is a truly amazing feature that we've got that in here. And then of course the fern element, which I mentioned that Wes had a hand in designing and pushing for its inclusion in Rivendell, is spread throughout the set in multiple colours. Let's talk about the rest of the vegetation now, as we have a couple of clear references to the games. Let's start off with the obscure one. We have this pinkish shape here. There is a potential that this is supposed to represent the hearty radishes from the game. I can't think of anything else that it could be trying to reference, but it could also just be a plant formation, as it does appear in the Ocarina of Time version of the tree too, where there of course are no hearty radishes. Not that I'm complaining about this, as the extra vegetation that's been added to what was otherwise a barren green field on the N64 is much appreciated. We also have multiple types of mushrooms. Firstly, the iron shrooms, which are inside the spore store. We have the Hylian shrooms, which are probably using this the new orangey red color, and then we also have this yellow color, which could be sun shrooms, but I think more likely the Endura shrooms is probably the more likely option here. I'm willing to bet that this yellow flower that's also present isn't a Safina or Thistle and is just a generic plant color, but every other flowering plant in this set is most likely a reference. I should mention, of course, while we're talking about the mushrooms, that these are also on jumper plates, meaning they can be moved inside and outside the tree, so that they could be on sale in the spore store, collected from the woods, or just rearranged to say put Navi or a fairy or anyone can be on any of these jumper spuds, and this actually goes for some of the Silent Princesses too, but we'll see them as we go through and I'll point them out. Also in the tree, something that no one has noticed yet is not only do we have the log prints, but in one of these trees it looks like we have an acorn, which could be representing a Chickaloo tree nut or an acorn, a Hylian cone, or whatever they're called in Tears of the Kingdom. However, it will be using the existing acorn print, if I'm right at all. I may be wrong, but that is a cool reference to a Chickaloo tree nut. But more excitingly, and also definitely confirmed, is in the back tree on the right of the Breath of the Wild version, we do have a bird nest as well. Of course, we know that we can find eggs inside the trees, so that's very cool that we have one here on like a yellow plate using this small piece here. And no one I've heard has brought that up yet, which is awesome. It's an accurate detail to the game, which is cool. Of course, I actually want to talk about the trees, but first firstly, let's go through the characters and all of their accessories and so on, because I think this is a lot of you guys' interest. And actually, I reckon I have the explanation for a lot of what's going on with these figures. So starting off with the brick built stuff, we have our Navi and our Breath of the Wild fairy. And as many people have mentioned, this is on a 2x2 dish, meaning you can put a stud on there to represent the Breath of the Wild healing fairies, or Navi in blue. But what no one I've heard has mentioned is that you will get a spare one of these prints in the set, as 2x2 dishes often come as spares in LEGO sets. This was seen in Series 25 with the Train Kid, and then also whenever there's a metallic dish included in the set. So this printed fairy, there will be a third one in the set. So this of course gives you the option to expand your Breath of the Wild fairy army and include another Breath of the Wild fairy using the red color, or this could be your chance to do Tattle or Tail using dark purple or trans yellow, or you could even go for Celia and the other ones from Phantom Hourglass if you wanted to. It's a really versatile print and it's great. And it's attached to a superhero poser piece onto a stand, and just as I mentioned, can be moved around to any of the jumper plates around the set. Next up on the Ocarina of Time list, we have the Deku Babas, which are a fantastic inclusion here, obviously are part of the lead up to the tree, and they've been put on ball joints, so they will be posable both at the neck and at the base, so they will have quite a good degree of motion. The bases are just clipped on, and this is a really classic build, to be honest. I just really love how this comes across, and you get two of them in the set, and it's nice that the designers tried to cover up the ball joints by using leaf elements at the front. That's very, very cute. I enjoy them a lot. They're really bright and colourful as well. I was really hoping that they would transfer to the final version of the set, and they did. Unfortunately, not much to say about them. We're going to briefly talk about the Skulltula as well, who is found on the inside of the Ocarina of Dungeon side. It has been mentioned, and I will walk you through how his play feature works later on, that this guy drops down as you open the door of the tree, and of course is actually on a piece of string, meaning he will free flow and spin. In fact, reminding me more of the Skyward Sword Skulltulas, which actually do 360 spin. There is no markings on his back for the weak spot, however we've got this wonderful printed 3x3 tile and the 8-legged design. He won't be able to be posed on the ground for a ground version, but then again, the Ocarina ones don't do that, and you only get one of them in the set. The print will not be duplicated, but it does also remind me of some of the classic designs from back in the day on LEGO Ideas, which is very, very awesome. Also included in the Ocarina of Time module, we have the Deku Sprout. I would also bet that this guy is buildable separately from everything else. He looks great, making use of another printed element. There are lots and lots of prints in this set. This set had a large budget. This does not justify the price. I'm just saying they had a large color change and mold budget for this set, which I'll walk you through later. But yeah, making good use of this 4x4 thing here. I reckon this guy was included instead of the Deku Scrub, which we saw with the Flickfire missile outside the tree in the leaked image. However, this works too, and it justifies the Ocarina of Link's inclusion. He does look great. It's a miracle that LEGO has been able to translate so many curvy shapes into brick built form so well here. It's part of why I love what they've done with this model. We also have the Gossip Stone, which is again featuring a print. Once again, him and the Deku Scrub are both movable around thanks to jumper plates. We've got the Sheikah Eye included on a 2x2 tile, as well as just these slopes around it, very reminiscent of the Artem Biazev design from his Ideas model, but obviously no inspiration was taken. Moving more into named characters, we have Hestu here in the Breath of the Wild version, and he looks great. As we all know, his design seems relatively unchanged, making great use of the 3-pronged leaf piece for his moustache, some eyebrows, the new Friends leaf element in dark green for his upper bits. I hope he doesn't reuse any of the Sprouts pieces, and of course he has his maracas, which actually have a recolor of the pneumatic tube piece, I believe, in the new dark orange color, which is very, very interesting. Of course, it wouldn't be Hestu without his Koroks, and I want to point out that because there is a transparent rod included in the set, you can have some of these guys either flying or around Hestu when he's doing his dance from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom when he's upgrading your armor. I think more importantly, we need to actually talk about their designs. They're both based around the 1x1 design, which is definitely the more scale accurate. I know some people prefer the 2x1 design, which just gives you a bit more details, but to be honest, I think I prefer this strategy because not only are the printed parts more in scale with this type of model, but they're not horrendous looking next to figures, they're easier to pose, and the body's more rounded, whereas when you do a 2x1 style, they end up looking a little bit flat. We actually have 3 in this one. The first one, of course, is actually the only named one here. We have Walton, aka Pierre, and Walton is obviously the named character that appears at the top of the tree and gives you the riddles. We'll come back to him later, but he's using a specific shaped tile to represent his leaf shape, and again his fan community name has been dubbed Pierre. We also have the grey body one with the long leaf, otherwise known as forklift, and he does not have a specific named role. And then we also have Potato, again using their fan names here, which is using the heart-shaped leaf. I'm glad we got this one. This one's one of the more iconic ones, I feel, and he also has a cherry piece to represent his little branch with berries on it. It is worth mentioning that there are 3 named Koroks or owner Koroks of shops inside the Deku Tree's navel, specifically the Deku Tree Inn, the Spore Store, and the General Shop, and none of the Korok types that own these and operate these stores are represented here. However, I am personally very, very happy with the layout here. While I personally would have liked the 5-prong leaf, as that's my favourite, I don't really care because I'm really glad that we got the heart-shaped one with the berries. Forklift is my other favourite Korok, so he's great to see here. And Walton, of course, being the named character, and including his room as well, is absolutely perfect. But it is worth mentioning that all of these Koroks can be moved around and do different jobs, but none of the specific owners of the 3 stores inside the Deku Tree, alongside Chico, the other Korok elder, is not present. Along with, obviously, Makar and the others. And yes, I'm aware they all have Wind Waker names. I think the fan names are more fun. Okay, let's get on to the actual 4 figures in the set here. We have Ocarina of Time, Young Link, and Adult Link. Now, obviously, originally this lineup just had Young Link, Breath of the Wild Link, and Breath of the Wild Zelda. However, Adult Link was added last minute, and it was acknowledged by Wes in his interview with like a game outlet that Adult Link was a later addition, which could have meant that we did not see the Hylian shield, although I'm sure it would have still been in the set. Now, it is worth pointing out that the reason we have Adult Link and not someone like Ganondorf is not only because not because he doesn't appear in this scene, because Adult Link also barely appears in the Deku Tree, but is because of the head mold. Now, it's fairly clear to me that the mold budget of this set was stretched pretty thin. We have a new sword, a new shield, 3 new wigs, multiple new prints. There's so much. I can't even remember it all off the top of my head. Lots and lots going on in this set, and it is all printed as well. So the fact that we've got Adult Link and saying not another character that would have required a new wig was most likely because the wig was already being produced for Young Link, who was always going to be included in the set, meaning that it was only a variety of new prints that needed addition and the hairpiece could be reused. This is probably why he's here and not someone else, just because of the lack of there was no need to create a new mold for him. But the printing does look fantastic on both the torsos, which are both different for both Young Link and Old Link, and it's really great to get the troll's skirt recolored in green as well. I have seen some comments about the rounded nature of Ocarina of Time Link's hat. This was to be expected. This is a toy company. Generally speaking, they don't like to make sharp edges. It could also make the pieces brittle. Yes, this is the same company that makes this evil pyramidal piece, which has a right sharp point at the top. As for accessories for Young Link, not only does he have dual molded legs and the new wig element, but he has a facial expression which is exclusive to him, a Kokiri shield, which is just an existing print. This is perfect. It didn't need a new mold. It looks great to see it, and this can be stored in the chest underneath his house. But we also have the Kokiri sword here, which is in it's just a normal sword. There are enough recolors in this set. Yes, it would have been nice to have it in brown, but to be honest, I get it. It makes perfect sense. And maybe they'll do the recolor one day. And he has dual molded arms as well. Moving on to Adult Link, I've already talked about his torso print. He shares the same facial expression with Breath of the Wild Link. I'm not a huge fan of this facial expression. It does do him justice, but the eyebrows are the wrong color, which we knew was something that was going to happen. So again, I don't really care. But personally, I would have just liked him to look a little more neutral. We do know he has an alternate face. It's really, really hard to see, but if you zoom in on the top of the box, you can see that he does have a yeah expression. And of course, he has dual molded legs as well. His accessories specifically are the Ocarina of Time Master Sword and Hylian Shield. The Master Sword is a new dual molded piece. Its closest counterpart is, of course, the Sword of Gryffindor from Harry Potter, featuring a dual molded blade. A lot of people have said that the gem is absent. This is just the nature of molding pieces like this. When you do a dual molded part like this, it's just impossible. So you have to ask yourself the question, you've got 3 options. Would you rather the gem was purple and the sword blade was still dual molded, so there was no secondary color and highlight? Would you rather that the blade was completely solid silver, meaning the gem would also be silver? Or would you rather the whole blade be purple? or they use an existing sword. So really, I'm quite pleased. Ideally, I would have preferred the non-powered up version. I think that would have been cooler, but I do really appreciate that we've got this variant, and I'm shocked they even did the mold. I know they had to, but I'm shocked that we have it. It is great. I really love it. I love how Lego-y it feels. I love how much Wes's original 2012, 2013 concept sketches it feels. It's fantastic. And then getting a new mold for the Hylian shield, to be honest, is a little unexpected. Again, you could argue it's iconic, so they had to, but I really don't think they had to. I think they very much could have left it at the normal shield shape, and we would have just gone, oh, fine, I guess. But it's even got a nice bevel to it. It's got the Skyward Sword design pretty much, and looks absolutely great. Moving on to the Breath of the Wild figures, not only do we have Link and Zelda, but we have all of the accessories. Particularly, I am loving the Traveler's Shield. I think that looks great. It's one of those prints we always wanted, which looks amazing. It's really, really highly detailed. And he's also using the Tournament Broadsword piece here, which is to be expected, Traveler's Sword. There is no way you're getting 2 Master Swords in this set. I doubt it will be included as a spare. Feel free to prove me wrong, Lego, but 1 in the set. We also have the Sheikah Slate for Zelda as well. I should also mention that included throughout the set, we also have the the hook shot, not the long shot because it's in blue, making great use of a flower element to represent the coiled chain around the thing, which looks great. Obviously it doesn't actually shoot, but it's great. We also have the fairy slingshot in a chest and an ocarina mold as well, which is the biggest shock. I genuinely don't know why they felt the need to do that. It genuinely feels extra. You could have brick built it. Like, it's baffling. I forget it exists in this set all the time, which is great. That has the potential to be small enough where there are 2 in the set, but that's crazy. I cannot believe we have that. And I don't think it's the case that there's a family mold involved here because all the things are very, very different. But yeah, could be some interest there. I'm just glad it exists, really. It's very cool. So let's move on to the other 2 figures. We have Breath of the Wild Zelda here, who has had a common complaint that there's not enough contrast on the torso. I wanted to initially say that this was potentially a pre-production image, but I don't think it is because, well, it's officially on the website and up for pre-order. But something definitely does look off. I don't think they could have added black lines to the actual gold because I think it would have overpowered the whole design and made it look weird. However, the lack of coloured negative space on the hips is a little strange. I also would have liked to have seen maybe more gold highlighting. It does feel a little bit neutral, although I'm really, really impressed with the hip printing. So many Zelda outfits are really, really hard to capture because of all the belts and stuff that fall. So it's really interesting to see where they chose to print belt designs and so on here. Her face expression is great. I hope that the other side is also interesting. And the hairpiece is phenomenal. It's perfect. There's no notes. Yeah, I suppose it makes sense that they chose light yellowish orange, but it's interesting that they did. And she has dual molded arms as well and dual molded legs. And then on to the best figure in the set is the Breath of the Wild Link. The most interesting thing here to me is that they chose to do his hair in gold. Okay. I personally would have gone for medium nougat, but I understand why they did gold. I am interested to see how this piece comes out in person. I think back to the anniversary Harry Potter figures from their 20th anniversary, specifically Hagrid's hair, and occasionally you can get a bit of marbling, a bit of texture in there, which to be fair does aid the idea of it looking like hair, but it does make me wonder if we've got a new mix for this hair piece here, because I think it's one of the very few times that they've printed it in gold. And it's curious, I think it does match very well. I do think it looks a little bit at odds when compared to the other figures in the set, because I always just kind of lump their hairstyles in together, which I guess is wrong of me. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to because we've been using medium nougat for so long, but I'm really pleased they did try something different for it, even though I have a little bit of a concern about how the gold will look. I also haven't looked around the back. I don't know if we've got the ponytail. Let me check as another images. Yeah, it's hard to see, but I think there may be some attempt at representing the ponytail. Probably no headband, maybe it just comes to a point at the back. And definitely looking at some of the lifestyle images, there is going to be some weird texturing with the gold, so we'll just have to see. As I mentioned earlier, there's a potential for a Korok seed to be included as an accessory somewhere lost throughout the set, but again, can't guarantee it, and the Deku scrub was lost from the original version, but that's all okay. Yeah, really standout line of figures. Breath of the Wild Link is probably my favorite figure ever. It would be Ocarina because I'm obviously a classic game fan, but it's not my Link. You know, I still want Skyward Sword, and I still don't think the hairpiece exists for him for that because Ocarina's is so wild. So here's hoping for another version of classic Link at some point, but hopefully this is the first of many anyway. But these are a great set of molds to be reused and reused. I kind of am hoping for a new face print at some point. I like the Hia alternate face, or what we've seen of it, but I do want a more neutral expression that isn't so stern. He has more life to him than that, but this is a great start. Prints look great. I do want to mention that in some of these renders, Link's Breath of the Wild torso still looks a little bit 3D printed. That is potentially because it's early production, or it could just be bad lighting, but I don't imagine this being a problem. It will look up to quality with other ones. The only one where there really was a drop ball was Zelda's torso. There just isn't enough definition, and I think even filling in the negative waist space would have gone a long way there. But I'm really impressed with the printing. We've got double jewel molding. I'm pretty sure we've even got side of leg potentially on UT, and there is no dash line printing on Link's dual molded arms, but that would have been such a small detail that I really don't care. So now that we've done all of that, and we're already half an hour in, let's talk about the trees. No live recording Octane, I don't think you will. Editing Octane here, just two things I wanted to touch on just before we actually get to the trees themselves. Firstly, you'll notice on the Breath of the Wild tree there is this 2x2 printed log tile, of course representing where you actually activate the dialogue box. I would have liked to have seen this be a jumper so that you can actually pose a figure up there without them falling over as if they're talking to the tree, but I get it, forced perspective makes sense, and I do like that we're getting this print in this forest-based set. And secondly, the box art. I missed this one when I went through it the first time, but I really like how it looks like the metal shieldings around the text from the Hylian shield. I think that's very, very cool. I obviously did something slightly similar with the Zonai stylings for Lookout Landing's 18+ box, so it's cool to see a professional do a professional version of that. And then again, remember, I do these ideas not so I can claim to do it first, but it's because I'm trying to show what they could do it. And look, someone with a professional skill did something similar to me, and I love how they did it infinitely more than how I did it, and that's so cool. So I really love the box, despite obviously we all know a coloured box background would look better. It's surreal. It's so good. Right, I'll let him talk about the trees now. Itself, starting with Ocarina of Time. On the outside, we've already talked about the base. There are no trees here. You've seen all the vegetation before, so let's talk about the actual structure. The actual base is probably very similarly built for the main two. However, the definitions and extra details that they've put on in different places, making great use of some shell elements here as well. There have definitely been a fair few recolors for this set, but the standout feature is, of course, the face. On the Ocarina of Time tree, the facial expression does not change. However, a lot of people have pointed out that the eyes are apparently glowing. This is not the case. It's just some weird artifact lighting on this image. If you look closer in other shots, both the Ocarina tree and the Breath of the Wild tree are making a really creative, nice parts usage, using the chef hat from this CMF figure, this waiter here. It was also used in the Downtown Diner, recolored into brown to represent the eyes. And this also doubles up as a second reference because they kind of look like Deku Nuts, which is awesome. I wouldn't say they're usable as an accessory Deku Nuts, but they are great to have. It's truly fantastic that how they've been used. So don't worry about your tree eyes glowing. They're not actually glowing. It's the hat piece here, which is really cool. Really great, nice part usage. Amazing. We're also making great use of the 2024 Friends Leaf element on the top, of course, making a really nice semi-dense canopy. And I really love how the simplistic shapes have been both upgraded but also represented faithfully here, using a great mix between olive green and dark tan. I have no problems with the contrast, and I even love that a bit of medium nougat is popping through. Again, it's weird that we have water at the base of this tree, but I can get past it. And then of course you've got the two Deku around, and again I bet those can be moved, and all the other positionings for the Sprout and other characters. And then that takes us through onto the inside, which can be accessed through this lever. You may have noticed these two tracks that run through the floor. You can very clearly see that those are linked to the door, meaning that as you pull that backwards, the door opens, and contrary to what this image would have you show, the Skulltula then drops down. It is stored up at the top, meaning that I believe either as you turn this knob, or maybe the knob does something else, it's unclear. Oh, the knob is how you retract the Skulltula. So pull this back, door falls down, spider drops down, and then to reset, you push the track back to close the door, and then you have to wind the spider back up. And as mentioned, the spider's on a string, so we will have a little bit of wobble. Other details here include a chest where they've placed the flare string shot, though that's always up to you. We've got a spider web up top. This is dead space. This is holding the Skulltula. It's empty space in that regard. And then of course we've got the torch, recreating the design really, really faithfully. I love how that turned out over on the right-hand side as well. Yeah, and then it's just a great use of parts to fill out the rest, and the base is again consistent. But we do also have the side build for this tree. So alongside the Ocarina tree, we have the building of Link's house from Ocarina here. This has been captured really wonderfully, making great use of snot techniques and newer parts. Down below, they didn't waste any space, and they've included a crate, which is where we get our look at the hook shot. We've got a red potion, and there's a Deku shield is being stored in there. Originally, I thought it was something new, like an armor or something, but no, that's not the case. We also get a look at Navi here again, but we've already talked about her in length, so no need here. We've got the balcony up top, which looks great, and another print on the sign. I feel like we need to translate it, although I'm sure it is a reference. So after about an hour, I have the results. As far as I can tell, it's potentially a proverb. Now, this is actually written in second script Hylian, which is the Ocarina of Time text, and translates to kana from Japan, meaning that it's not a perfect translation. So I've broken it down to maybe 6 or so, 7, 8 syllables, and I'm by no means an expert, but in the top line we have only. We have another section of takeno, which I assume has something to do with warrior or a pronoun. There are multiple different kanji it could mean. This one's the one that's least clear. And then the last pair of shio being try. And on the second line we have everyone, carry/bear, something very similar, and then much. So probably if we read right to left, if you try to be a warrior or do something by yourself, we can carry or bear more together or as everyone. So it seems like some sort of proverbial connection to we're stronger together in a sense, or something in that vein. I could be misinterpreting. If anyone's an expert, please let me know. But I thought it was very, very cool. I also do want to say that about this sign, I do wish it could split in half. There's that famous interview where Miyamoto came over and was like, hey, the sign should be able to split in half. And then they coded it so that you could break the sign. So that would have been cool, but it would have been 2 prints, so that is completely unnecessary. Let's talk about the Breath of the Wild tree now. We've got, obviously the tree is a completely different shape. It's built up off its roots. A lot of the basic structure looks to be the same, as in like the foundations that give you the angles for the tree, and obviously the slope piece is the same. But instead of having a feature for Skulltula inside, there's going to be a completely new mechanism for moving, I assume, the eyebrows and then the mouth to simulate him talking. The root work has definitely been changed and upgraded. It's really, really smooth, really, really fantastic technique work that's been done there. And the new leaf colors in flesh tones make a fantastic look as well. And once again here you can see that the eyes are chef caps, which I said looks like Deku nuts, which is awesome. Over on the inside, many similarities, although you will have to completely rebuild the tree. But the actual inside is completely different. There's a ramp that comes up from the inside, so there is definitely an elevation difference between the front and the back, but it isn't very deep. It's quite subtle. We've got the bed that's been made for the hero, which is using some teal leaves here. We've got a korok pot, which of course you can smash for arrows. A cooking pot, which looks fantastic. I love this build so much, and it reminds me of GSI and other sets as well. And in this image in particular, you can really clearly see the golden glint of Link's hair as well. And then we have forklift operating the spore store too. Up above, you can see the lever, which is going to be what activates the gears. So that empty space up there, I assume, is what's making the move. Just a nice simple counter lever mechanism. And there is actually a secret room off to the side. I don't know if it's enclosed or not. It's kind of unclear. I think you have to remove something to access it, where we have a Sheikah terminal. And it's a very simplified Sheikah terminal. It's just good to have, give Zelda something to do. Yes, it's not supposed to be there, but it doesn't matter. It's an extra bit of play, which is something I love and appreciate, full stop. But also is getting a little bit of Sheikah architecture, which of course is relevant to this build as well. So that's awesome. Really, really great to see. And then the last major area we actually have up here is Walton's area. We've actually got the apple from his first riddle, as well as a fairy. Remember, of course, you're getting a second one in this set, which is fantastic. And there will be a spare one of those tiles too, so you can have 2 fairies. And he can sit up here on his little throne, and you can bring him the various items. I will be curious to see if the other items from Walton's treasure hunt are included here. I haven't done the research on that, but it would be nice if the other things he asks for are present. I doubt there is a diamond in this set though, so no, the diamond's the reward. What am I on about? And we have the bean pod above him, which is obviously an iconic flora design from around the Korok Forest. I would have liked to have seen more of those, but fair enough. I will be bricklinking the parts to have a couple more, because those are like the light sources around. So, beyond all of this, there are actually a couple of other things that were revealed about the set. We actually had this Twitter video, which is just rotating it. It's very cool. I haven't actually listened to it myself, so I hope it has some nice music, but I'm loving the dark blue color scheme, and it does very much feel like, and the reason we're talking about this is that there are more sets coming. So, a couple of bits of evidence for this. Not only did we have the Brick Set article, which launched with some lovely quotes from Wes, which I've sort of incorporated as we've gone through this video, but also a quote from Eiji Aonuma where he states that this is the first thing they wanted to translate. That's really interesting. I like that idea. Now, first things first, it does not guarantee that more sets are coming. It seems pretty likely given that he said this is the first thing, but it does not confirm that there will either be smaller sets or more 18 plus sets. This really does have to sell for them to make more, because especially with the design process for a set like this, it technically being half under icons and half not, again, I'm coming back to that, and being designed just by just one guy, it does mean that most likely there's nothing else in development. There's nothing meaning that sets couldn't happen in January, but I think we'll be waiting a little bit longer than that. So we really does need to sell well in order to see more, but it seems like the partnership is nice and positive, which is good. Again, by see more, it could mean adult sets only, but it could also be sets for kids, which I think is all the way we want it to go. Play sets is what we need for this theme, not only for cheap accessories for these things, for you people that can't afford this ridiculously priced thing. Again, coming to that, but also just the variety you can cover. There's so much in these games that's so wonderful. I mean, you guys have seen the CSS. I'm just seeing the Deku Tree again. It's so cool. I can't believe it's real. Yeah, so the fact that he quoted that is important. There was also a larger interview with Wes Talbot, but I think I've talked about most of the interesting stuff here. He obviously can't comment on future sets. He said some pretty interesting things about the design process, but nothing super thing. Let me know what you guys would like to hear from him down below in case I ever get the chance to do a little interview or something. Who knows? And then before we jump onto the price, I should just mention that on LEGO.com, of course, it's listed for now for pre-order for $300 or £259 for those of you in the UK, like myself. It will ship September 1st, although there is a small chance it could arrive early, but I very much doubt it. There is no promo rumored or even available for this set right now, which is okay. And of course, on the theme right now, instead of it being under icons, it is currently listed as its own set, which is very cool, because it basically means that Zelda's been given a theme page on the shop list. Now, does this mean anything is the question. Yes and no. It generally means that it's a big enough IP, right? Animal Crossing has one, Mario has one. My question is whether Horizon has one for the Horizon set, because some smaller themes like Lord of the Rings get one. And Zelda has one, right, as I mentioned. Indiana Jones got one, but that actually had sets. Let me check. That was interesting. Horizon was listed under other, whereas Zelda's got its own theme. So yeah, I think that means there's more sets coming, unless Nintendo's just super picky. Don't know what that means though. It could mean one set, it could mean 12. But that's very cool. That's very exciting that it's got its own thing and Horizon didn't. Although, take it with a grain of salt, because while I was scrolling through the icons sub-theme, I noticed that sets that, like Barad-dûr, is both under Lord of the Rings and under icons. Anyway, moving on. Price. Let's talk about price. So this coming in at 300 is definitely on the high side. I think that the easiest and fairest comparison to make is to the Mighty Bowser. This is because it's also licensed by the same IP partner, has a similar kind of scale, part count, and came in about £60, $60 cheaper, right? Right. So that means that this is definitely a case of LEGO setting the price before they make the model. Originally the model came in a lot smaller, so technically we did all right. And it's not supposed to make you guys feel better, but there are a lot of new molds in here. And as we all know, new molds and stuff cost a lot of money. And for new IP development, this very much could be that we're seeing the cost front loaded in this set for other sets that take advantage of these molds to come in. Now, we all know that all of the Nintendo sets have come in slightly above price, but this is again in the range of Star Wars. It's very reasonable. However, this set has definitely come in higher than expected. I'd originally hoped that this would be offset by a sound brick or something along that lines, but it very much does look like they knew they could get away with it, and they were right. I'm going to be honest, they were 100% right. They could have charged me 400, well, for a different model, and I would have paid, because it's the dream theme, right? So I'm not really in a position to offer commentary. I agree that small sets are a good idea. However, I do think this was the right way to launch the theme with a big set for adults specifically, as I do worry that the child market is potentially damaged, or that Nintendo doesn't view the child market. Remember, all of our Zelda marketing tends to be luxury and statues and books and stuff. So everything's always pricey with Zelda. So it is curious to me that the pricing is so different, because this technically makes it the most expensive video game set that LEGO's ever produced, which is wild to say. Even bigger than like the Mario stuff. Minecraft didn't come close with the Mountain Cave. I think literally the closest thing is Mighty Bowser potentially, and even then it's not even close. Yeah, so it's crazy. Obviously, people like the Toolneck for a reason. There's a lot that can be expanded upon this license in playset scale stuff, and they've done the groundwork. So it would be amazing to see them go from here. But this is the world we're living, unfortunately, and it's not like the price is going to drop, and it's not like this set's going to be available anywhere other than LEGO and Nintendo's own websites, at least for a very, very long time. So it's very, very cool. But yes, I do understand that the price is higher. I will argue though that there is a lot of new stuff in here, and the volume to stuff I'm happy with. I'll be honest, it's close. Admittedly, I would prefer 250, but oh wait, I am paying 250 because I'm in the UK. Yes, I know it seems cheaper, but the prices are the same. It's just because our pound is really weak. Anyway, it is unfortunately what it is. It's not great, but I would have bought it at every level, and I really hope it's on shelf for a long time so that people that want it can save for it, or the cheaper options are coming up. Last couple of bits then to go through. We have a couple of lifestyle images, which is just so surreal to see. I cannot wait for the day I get to walk into a store and see this. It would be utterly amazing. But I love the way it looks on a shelf here. Pairing it with the Link's house build was really a genius move. I'm really pleased that was added, and then the Breath of the Wild tree as well. I don't know which one I'm going to display. I need to think about it. They're both perfect in my eyes, which is great. This shot's also really surreal. I've probably shown it to you at some point in the last 40 minutes, but yeah, crazy. Just amazing how that looks. It invokes so much happiness. I can't wait to look at these figures in more details. It's got to be new favorite figure, tied with the gingerbread man from series 11. We've also got these various pieces. They're all very similar, but I just like seeing them around the website. It's very crazy to me that this is something that exists. So yeah, utterly amazing. So as I promised at the very end, I just wanted to dedicate a couple of minutes. If you're still with me, I don't know who would be. I managed to talk about this set for nearly 40 minutes about my connection with this. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, I've been waiting for this theme and this crossover for 14 years, ever since I played my first games from this franchise, and I just knew that they were a perfect match made in heaven. Now, specifically, I didn't specifically think 18 plus sets, although there is definitely a lot of potential for that, but my personal dream is play sets. So while I'm utterly over the moon and I'm so excited to finally have these characters, the campaign does not stop here, and the custom sets do not stop here. I spent the last 4 years imagining what a LEGO Zelda crossover could look like, looking at brand synergies and what can translate really well, and there are so many iconic moments from games past and present that deserve to have the brick treatment for a variety of prices. And I think that it's definitely possible, and it's really exciting to be able to say that. I want playsets, Zelda playsets, please. Keep the 18 plus sets too, but give me Zelda playsets. Give this theme all the chances to get. It's incredibly emotional to see this come to fruition, especially after 4 years of working non-stop on the customs. Almost 100 customs, or it will be 100 customs by the time this set comes out. And that's crazy. I have no idea how this is going to affect it. I want to follow through my original plan regardless of what they're doing, but I can't believe that I'm staring at this. And then even with the leak last year, it still didn't feel real. Like, I didn't think I was going to react the way I reacted when this one came out. I was so shocked. It was such a blind surprise that it was amazing. Great feeling. I was shaking, buzzing all day. And hopefully, of course, this is just the beginning for the content regarding this set as well. Hopefully going to talk to some fellow friends in the group related really soon. So if you've got any questions or questions you would have for the design team, let me know. And I'm going to do my best to give you guys the best content regarding this set possible. And of course, I'll be there day one. It's amazing. I can't express it. And then for it to be Wes as well, who designed the Unknuckle Encounter, which again was one of the major inspirations for why I started the CSS, and to see so much of that design language from 2012, 2014 that came through when building his Ideas project, it was incredible. It's so incredible to see, and I can't wait to put it together and then tear it apart and build the other one, and then tear it apart and probably build the other one again, and get extra fairy pieces of bricks and pieces of Pricklick or whatever so that I can have Tattle and Tail and all these characters. And we're going to be modifying it. Like, it's nearly perfect, but I want Goma. I want other stuff, I'm sure. I've got to think about it. It's only been 24 hours and look at what we found. But let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'm going to probably have put the most important stuff at the beginning. I might do some rearranging because I want it to flow well. But I will see you guys again very soon. I don't know. Maybe you'll get a video on Friday. I don't know. It's been a busy week. Maybe we'll do a stream. I don't know. Anyway, this is for me to sort out. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.